Okay, we're good, Mr. Jablon.
Yeah,
You can begin.
I can begin.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Johnny Jablon. When I was about your age, I witnessed the biggest murder, the biggest crime in the history of the world. Holocaust. Yeah, Holocaust, which I lost my entire family. I'm the only one left. I survived 4 years in a different concentration camp, and by luck, you can tell it by luck, some call it by miracle, I survived. And I survived when I was about your age. It's beginning everything in 1939 when the German occupied Poland, and and it started right away. We supposed to wear armband with the mark Jude. Jude means a Jew. Were cut to do different work like cleaning toilets with your own shirt if you didn't have it. But this was just the beginning. In a few months after, we all the Jews around Krakow. You know, Krakow is in Poland. It's one of the biggest city in one of the nicest city in Europe. We were put in the ghetto. In the ghetto is like was a small part of Krakow, which was surrounded by high walls, and there were a few families in one small apartment. But this was just the beginning. Um, after my liberation, about 2 or 3 months, I find out that I have an uncle in Palestine at the time, and I wrote him a letter in which I described the living in the ghetto. How did I get the letter? I have the original letter right here in Polish. A few, let's say, in about 4 or 5 years ago, came a daughter of my uncle, and she brought me the original letter, which is dated 1946, in which I describe one day, only one day of living in the ghetto. And I have the translation, and I'm gonna read it to you, if you don't mind. On March 20, 1940, a decree was issued that all the Jews from Krakow were to be transferred to the ghetto. The ghetto was surrounded by very high brick wall, so nobody could escape from it. And so-called citizens of the Jewish state, we call it Jewish state, must have documents and also obliged to work for the German, were getting beaten, teeth broken, and many times we came back from work with a broken bones. But this was nothing until the first action came. Action means that part of the people in the ghetto were taking to so-called working camp, but it was not the working camp. There was the crematorium. My older brother, who was at the time 16 years old, he went with the first transport, and naturally he was gassed, he was killed. And then came the bloody day of October 28, 1942, which I will never forget as long as I will. It was the beginning of my life, and this was the day that changed me from a child to grown-up person who survived 4 years in different concentration camps and survived only with the thought of revenge of the bloody German murderers. Now, I will describe you the one day. We got one morning to go to work, and all of a sudden we heard our mother screaming as she looked through the window. You see, our window was facing outside the ghetto. We all ran to look, and we saw what we were afraid for quite a while. The ghetto was surrounded by SS troops, specially trained for liquidation, means killing of the Jews. The action we know very well. It means hundreds of dead and thousands of people taken for transport to an unknown destination. Later, we found out the unknown destination was the crematorium of Berges, Treblinka, Majdanek, Auschwitz, and others when we lost our millions of brothers. We are sitting and huddling each other in one room because we were not allowed to go out and listening to any noises coming from outside. Mother was crying very quietly. She knows that something very terrible is coming. We're trying to assure her that everything will be okay. I felt like grown-up person, although I was only 16 years old. I think I was about your age at the time. This time, all of a sudden, we start to hear a few shots, and the whole volley of shots. It started. We hear crying, yelling, moaning, and we know for sure there must be already many dead people. My mother is crying, and then we hear heavy step of the SS. You know, SS is the special trained troops, German troops who were trained to kill Jews. They were coming to our door. They are here. We are sitting together, hugging each other, waiting for something terrible to happen. Then the steps stop right in the front of the door. A big bang, they are here. Sadistic faces with the sadistic smiles slowly coming toward us. One of them gives us a yell. Finish fast, the goddamn Jews. One of the beasts starts to beat my dearest mother. Then something snapped in me, blindly, and with the most hate which I could muster to the animal who can raise hand to my mother. I threw myself with my fists, me, 6 years old boy, trying to fight the big Germans. I can still hear the sadistic laugh together with my mother's scream that I felt blow in my head, and as a matter of fact, I still have the scar when he hit me right there. It's 80 years after. Then I lost conscious. I was left for dead. They left me bleeding on the floor. They thought that I'm already dead. The next at the evening, some people find me on the floor, and they said I'm very lucky that I survived. Lucky who few minutes lost my entire family. Yes, this was the day which I lost everybody. I didn't cry. I swore to myself that if I survive, I will seek revenge. Well, I survived, but the revenge didn't sit yet. My revenge came in, you know. This is my revenge. This is when I talk to you and I share my experience with you, young people, that you should remember something like this happened. After the action, which I lost everybody, my parents, brother, my whole family, they took me to concentration camp Plaszow. You know, Plaszow was a concentration camp right near Krakow when I was a year and a half. Then I was sent to Auschwitz, Mauthausen, Merck, Gusing, Gunskirchen, when I was liberated by U.S. soldiers on May 4th, 1945. Coming before I was sent to, I didn't write this in my letter. Before I was sent to Plaszow, I was for another 3 or 4 months in ghetto, and I was working for Schindler. You heard about the Schindlers, eh? Schindler's factory. I was not working there for quite a while, for a few weeks. Then I was sent to the Plaszow. Plaszow was a camp which is almost impossible to describe. This was January 1943. Was snowing. We came to the camp. There was no toilets. There was nothing. We were sleeping on the floor. No running water. I remember the first. My brother always told me, when you have in trouble, remember that you have to wash yourself. So I washed myself in the snow, and to relieve ourselves, we have to go outside to latrine. The commander of the camp was a vicious assessment called Amon Göth. I wonder if you ever have it. Anybody of you read the Schindler's List book? I don't think so. I mean, he was a sadist like you could never imagine. He was always on a white horse, good looking, with 2 dogs, and the 2 dogs were trained under commander Jude means you. They would jump on you, grab you by the throat. I seen it. I witnessed it. I was extremely hungry. Hungry is the worst torture you can imagine. One night I figured out that the SS, the guards were keeping potatoes near the watchtower. So I figured out that I go at night, and the light goes around every few seconds. So I figured out I have 20 seconds to go and grab few potatoes from this, which I did. The next day, I ate the potatoes. I couldn't cook. I didn't have where to cook. I ate them raw, and I got very sick. I had typhus. I know you have the sickness, typhus, stomach typhus. So what you do, you go to the called hospital. Hospital, if you can call it hospital, we were all laying on the same bench, all very sick. And once in 7 days was coming the commander again, and the doctor, he was a Jewish doctor, by the way, he had to show who is very sick. One morning comes the doctor running, and I know he knew me from before. He says, Janek was my name. They call me, get up. I couldn't get up. I was so sick. But he says, get up. Here's a broom, here's a coat, and start sweeping the floor. Few minutes after comes Get. I still see with the 2 pistols, and the doctor had to show who is sick. And he starts shooting in everybody in the bed, one by one. The only one left was me, because I was so-called orderly. By the way, the doctor, one was Dr. Gross. After the war, he was hanged because he was working with the German. Mind you, he saved my life. Well, that's how it is. Now, I lasted only 1 year in the Plaszow, and one morning I was, by the way, I was working in the carpenter shop. I was lucky, I had a good job. One day comes Get, and he orders a big chair for the next morning, because he had a big party. Naturally, we couldn't make the big chair. So he sent all the carpenter shop, he sent to Auschwitz. I wonder if you heard about Auschwitz. Auschwitz was I would say, the well-run debt factory, very efficient. It takes you 50 minutes to get that. You come in, you go to so-called showers, then the gas come in, and after a few minutes you're dead, and they put you to crematorium. I came over there with my transport, which we were traveling in a cattle car, packed like 100 people to one wagon. It takes normally from Krakow to Auschwitz, it takes about 2 hours. It took us 2 days and 2 nights just to go, and we didn't have any food. We didn't have no way to relieve ourselves, but we are already trained. We were old prisoners, and we know how to survive. So everybody had something in the pocket. I had a piece of carrot, somebody had a potato. So we put all together, we cut it in small pieces, so everybody had the same. And to relieve ourselves, we cut in the center, we cut a hole in the train, and that's how we relieve ourselves. We came to Auschwitz after 2 days and 2 nights on the ramp, and we heard the dogs yelling, yapping, and the order, the trust is screaming, out, out. So we ran out and were greeted by the soldiers with the whips, with the dogs jumping on us, and and by the way, it was January. It was the snow was it was snowing with the ashes. Would you believe it? You look on the one side, you see the crematorium, you see the ashes coming. There was no such thing as white or green or something gray. Everything was gray from the ashes from the people. So we look on the left and we see the crematorium. We knew where we're going. Till now, I'm asking myself a question. Why didn't we start running? Why didn't we start defending ourselves? Something. People are very, very, very strange animals. Survival. We says, maybe something is gonna. It happened. Comes Doctor Mengele. I wonder if you heard about Doctor Mengele. And he comes, looks at us, looks at a piece of paper. He asks, you are Fachleute? Fachleute means you all skilled workers, which you were. So instead of going to the crematorium, we go to the left, we start running to Auschwitz. There was 2 camps like Birkenau, which was only crematoriums, and 3 kilometers to the left was Auschwitz, was the working camp. So we ran for about a couple of hours to the camp, and actually before that, we came to the camp, and to be admitted, you have to go to the showers. Now, January 28, I remember exactly, the snow is falling, the wind is blowing, and cold that you cannot imagine. And we're staying before the bath, before the showers, and we have to strip completely from our clothes, completely, cold, only shoes. And for 2 hours we're standing, freezing to death, with the speeches, you dirty Jews, you cannot come to the camp dirty, and so on, so on. And only a few of our people, one of my friends, they were dropping frozen to death, one after the other. Finally, we come to the showers, and what do you know, hot water didn't last long, maybe for a minute or two, and that's it, rouse, no towels, nothing. We have to run out in the cold, in the snow, completely stripped. We ran to block 18, and they don't let you in. No. Over this, it says the bloodthirsty, which means the chief of the block, and they came with these speeches for a couple of hours. You did this, you have to do this, blah 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 blah, and finally, maybe after 2 hours. By the way, half of our group survived. The other half were already frozen, were already dead, laying there. We come in finally, and we get some clothes, and we get branded. We stay in the line, and they give you a number. You lost completely your identity. I stopped being Johnny Jablon. I became hefty, means prisoner number. Can you see the number? 174, 131. This was my name. No more Yannick. No more Johnny. Prisoner 174, 131. If you see the number, you know we're dead. Auschwitz, death factory. I last for 1 year. 360 days. 8,400 hours. Yeah, I said 8,400 hours. Why? Because each hour is a survive. You survive from the 4 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock at night. In the morning, the next morning, they wake you up 4 o'clock in the morning. After maybe sleep for 2-3 hours on the benches, and we have to be counted. We stay in the line outside in the cold, and you cannot move. We have to take the dead people out because there are always some dead people, and with us holding them because the number has to be exact. Let's say when our block was 255 people, counted, and they said the head down, head up for about 2 hours. Already men and people every day. On the uphill, there were people dropping dead right near me. A good friend of mine, dropped dead. He couldn't take it anymore. The other one was beaten to death because he moved his head too far. So I said, I survived 8,400 hours in Auschwitz. And if you think, yeah, okay, I'll tell you a story in Auschwitz. How could I survive? One day, I got very, very sick in the morning. I had diarrhea, but I have to run to the roll call. No matter what, you have to stay in the line and don't move. And here, excuse my expression, I'm full of shit. I have full pants. And what should I do? Germans are very efficient people. If you're sick, you go to the hospital, so-called hospital, and you have to report. So I said, I have no choice, because if they're gonna catch me, they're gonna kill me. I pick up my head, and I said in German, ich melde Gehorsam. So it means I have to report it, that I'm sick. So he says, what's wrong with you? Excuse me, I have to say dirty. I shit in my pants. So you're sick, you go to the hospital. Okay, so I run. So he said the hospital was block 18. By the way, I went 2 years ago with the kids from around the world. I was standing right before the 18, and I was telling the story. March of Living, I know you heard about it. I come to the dispensary, and there is a doctor who was supposed to examine you. So he asked me again, what's wrong with you? I said, I make in my pants constantly. So he says, prove it. So I prove it. I show it to him. I mean, I show it. He took me to the toilet and I was done with that. So he says, now, because you're sick, you go to block 19. So it takes me another order to block 19, which is right across. He says, Janek, he knew my name. I know how come. He says, you're very lucky. I said, how come I'm lucky? Because every 7 days, there are selections. Comes Doctor Mengele, and he chooses all the sick people to the crematorium. So he says, the doctor was there this morning, so you have 7 days to live. So 7 days is better than nothing. How I survive in the rest of the time in Auschwitz is it is a story which will take me too much. I wrote this in my book. If you want to take it, if you want to get, you can get on eBay or Amazon this book, and you can read about it. I lasted another couple of months in the Auschwitz, and then came the 1945 January, when the Germans were coming, when the Russians were coming, and the Auschwitz was liquidated. If I could stay another 4 or 5 days, I would be free. But no, they sent me to the dead marshes up 5 months. 5 months after Auschwitz, there is something which you cannot, nobody could describe. I went for 5 months, day and night, walking in the snow. Shoes, I had some wooden shoes. Clothes, I find some newspaper I was stuffing in the, walking day and night. People were dying like flies all around me. I went to the 4 different concentration camps. It was Mauthausen, Melk, Gusen, Gunskirchen, and as I said, it's impossible to describe. I'm going to just tell you about Mauthausen. We came after going with the dead marshes and for days. We came to a camp and didn't stay long, and were sent right away with the death march to another camp, which is called Gusen. I'm gonna tell you, read you as one day in Gusen. Gusen was one of the worst camp which I survived. Okay, I say like this. By now, I already experienced many camps, but nothing was like Gusen. There was no food, practically no food. Once a day we receive a bit of water reserve soup if we're lucky enough to get it, and some moldy bread. We have to line up for the bread, and every third person was given a small loaf of bread, which he was supposed to divide equally and share with the other 9. The first evening, the third person in line was a Soviet prisoner, and as soon as he received the bread, the lights went off of the barrack and he simply disappears. 9 of us didn't have anything to eat until next evening, and I was very careful not to have the repetition of the previous night. I just tell you one night. Another camp. I'll tell you some good stories, okay? I mean, there were some good stories too. The camp was Melk. Melk was a beautiful town on the Danube. and at night I was working in the mines at night because why at night? Because during the day was coming the bombs, the airplane, and the only way we could work was night. The first day I came to the mines, and the foreman gives me a big drill, which was larger than me, and he says, drill. I couldn't pick up the drill, it was so heavy. He started beating me, and he almost beat me to death. Finally, I don't forget, he says, take the wheelbarrow and you take the dirt and take outside. Naturally, I took the wheelbarrow, I go outside, and there are watchtowers watching you. And what do you know? I pass by one watchtower, and a piece of bread falls down. A miracle, eh? And every night, 12 o'clock at night, when I was taking the wheelbarrow from the mines, the piece of bread fell down. Who was that? I don't know. I would never know. Things like this happens that I survive. And I lasted like this till May. No, it was May the 4th, 1945. It was the last camp in Austria. In the woods, there was no working. We were dying. We were dying from starvation. We were dying from sickness. I was already another 2 days. I would be dead. I was already weighing 37 kilos, which is 70 pounds. I couldn't move my muscle. I didn't eat. God knows when I eat the last time. And finally, I always had a buddy, a friend, who was taking care of me. My buddy comes here. I was not in the barracks. I was already outside in the mud, laying, couldn't move. He says, Janek, I went to the kitchen and I stole a few potato peels. We're gonna cook them somewhere. Then he comes running, says, there's no guards around. Let's run away. So he brings me a stick. He had a knife. I put the knife around the stick. He says, you hold this as a weapon. You go to the woods. You're going to defend me. And here are the potato peels. We're going to cook some. We're free, but we don't know where we are. And we go to the woods. We come to the road. And all of a sudden, we see tanks coming. I said, "Oh my God, that's it. They're gonna kill me now." And I listened to the conversation of the soldier. He says, "There must be Dutch SS. Dutch is a language which is combination between English and German. They were English. They were Americans. So we ran out the middle of the road, waving hand. They got scared of us. I mean, two ghosts coming from the woods. After that, I was very sick. I was dying. After 2 months of the liberation, I had typhus, I had malaria, I had God knows where. But I survived. I think my time is out, eh? Boss, where is the boss? Do I still have time to say?
Hi.
Hi. I still have time to go, to move? I still have time to say something?
Yeah, you still have a few minutes for sure.
Yeah?
Hi. Yes, you still have a few minutes.
Yeah. I survived. And after 2 years, in 3 years, what was my goal was, if I ever gonna be well enough. I want to continue my education. And I did. Canada was a country of my dreams. In Auschwitz, you know, when you had a blanket, when you were so lucky to have a blanket to cover yourself up, we call the blanket Canada blanket. Why? Because we thought that Canada, whatever is Canadian, is the best. The place to work in Auschwitz was a Canada, it was a warehouse when was everything, it was warm and nice and we had to get enough food. You know how we call the place? Canada. If you work in Canada, you work in the best place. So my dream was always, if ever I get well, my country will only be Canada. And I was lucky enough. There is a music number there?
No, it's just about.
Yeah, you can play music. 1948 in October, finally, I came to Canada to the country of my dreams. I was teenager when I came to Canada. I was about 18, but I was very old man. As I said, my dream was education, and I went to Concordia to Sir George William College, and I finished to be an electronic engineer, which I'm now electronic engineer. I retired now. I was so much full of hate after the. I had a store, electronic store on Quimere, and whenever German come customer or say, I didn't want to talk to him. Then I realized that hate is gonna eat me. Remember, kids, hate is a poison. When you hate, there's no end in that. Yes, I stopped hating. I don't hate anymore because that's not the solution. You know what solution is? The solution is education. Yeah. When baby is born, the baby is not anti-Semite. The baby is not anti-Muslims. The baby doesn't know nothing. The way you bring up the baby, the way you educated the baby, that's the way the people will be. And there is no such thing as being black and white or yellow, whatever it is. All the people are the same. The way you bring them up, the way you educate them, the way you teach them. I'm lucky enough that I can still talk to you guys, to you youngsters, and tell you, don't hate, because hate is a poison. Hate would. You look what's happening now. Look what happened a few days ago. They killed. You heard about what happened in London, eh? A young boy, 20 years old, ran over for other people. Why? Because they were Muslims. He killed them because they were Muslims. Don't hate, eh? Everybody's equal. I thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, please do ask.
Does anyone have any questions? I know it's hard to take that all in and then ask questions, but does anyone have any questions here? I think usually they're a little too shocked to ask questions. I said, I think usually they're a little too shocked to ask questions.
Yes.
We thank you so much. This really, really means a great deal to us that you came to speak to us today. By the way, Mr. Nathan, who you've been talking to, told me you live in Côte St. Luc.
Yeah.
I live in Côte St. Luc. I would be very happy to pick up books from you.
So
So I
you
will
know-
make arrangements.
I give you my address,
Yes, perfect.
and I live in condo on 5900 Cavendish Boulevard. I have 3 books left, okay?
Perfect.
And I'm gonna leave the books with the doorman.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. I live right next to you.
I'm gonna leave them, maybe not today, but tomorrow.
Okay,
And you can pick it up anytime you want.
thank you so much.
I have only 3 left,
That's okay.
but
They
you can
will
order-
be read and loved.
Yeah, okay. It was nice to meet you.
You too.
You're beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Bye-
Say thank you,
bye.
everyone,
Yeah,
and have a wonderful day. And I
You
look
too.
forward to reading your book.
yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, where is the leaf? Leaf, just a minute, yeah, I got it.
This is what I asked myself.
Leave the meeting, leave meeting.